Hello, I'm Richard. Welcome back to my channel over and over and over again, which features everything to do with Arsenal. In this video, I just really wanted to look at the press conference today from Mikel Arteta ahead of the Manchester City game. Just go over what he said and analyse it and see what we make of it all. First of all, he was asked, obviously, the big question on everybody's lips at the moment about Thomas Partey. Is he ready to play? Is he going to be in the matchday squad? Arteta said that he only arrived yesterday and he's still getting familiar with everything. And he said it's only his first training session today. So he said everything really has to come quickly for him. Arteta said he knew that before we signed him, but he said he's fit and he's willing to play. So we're going to see how it goes in the next couple of days. So he's not obviously giving anything away there, is he? We'll see what happens with that. I personally think he'll play. He was then asked about how long he thinks it takes for players to adapt to the Premier League. Of course, going back on something Arsene Wenger had said during the week, of course, about it can take him up to 6 months. Arteta said he thinks it's a very individual thing and it depends on lots of different factors. He said, first of all, how quickly people settle in the city with their family, whether they speak the language, all that kind of stuff as well, and whether they have the qualities to fit into the team and into the Premier League straight away, or if they need some time to adapt and need some development. But basically, he was saying it's an individual thing. Some players obviously can settle in really quickly and some can't. Bearing in mind, of course, Thomas Partey does speak English already, so I think that's a big help to him, isn't it? So I'm sure that's going to help him settle a little bit quicker. He was then asked about how excited he is to have a player like Thomas Partey. Arteta said, I've seen the buzz around the place. The fans are really happy. He said he's seen some really positive reactions. He said it's the same with the team and the squad and everybody. He said he's a player that's been on their radar for a long time, and he said we've managed to bring him in, and he's a really important addition to the team. Yeah, of course. We all know that, don't we? We're all excited, aren't we, to see him play, hopefully on a Saturday. He was then asked about how the confidence is within the squad. Mikel Arteta said he's confident in what we're doing. He said it's very early in the season to see where we'll be at the end. He said a lot of things will still have to happen, a lot of improvements will still have to be made. So obviously he's not settling for what we've got at the moment. He said we know what we have to do. We know the level of competition we're facing. We're happy with the recruitment we have done. And we now need to get better and better every week. Yeah, I mean, it looks like, this is the start, isn't it, of the next stage of the season for us. We've got Thomas Partey and the transfer window's closed. And now we can build and, like he said, improve on the areas that we still need to improve on. He was then asked how Thomas is settling into the squad. He said very well. Obviously, he hasn't trained with us yet. He'll have his first training session today, and he'll get to know some of his teammates because, of course, a lot of them have been away on international duty. And Mikel Arteta said everyone's back today, so it'll be a good day for him to get to know everyone. So today is going to be his settling-in day, isn't it? And he can really do some training as well, and then hopefully he'll be ready for Saturday. He was then asked about the positives of beating Sheffield United in our previous match. Seemed a bit of a strange question, if I'm honest, but anyway, Arteta said he thinks it'll be a completely different game. City's approach when they play us will be very different to Sheffield United's, of course. City are at home for a start off as well. He says very different demands for what we have to do with and without the ball as well. He said he's really happy with the way we managed to win that game and how patient we were. And the improvements compared to last year against this type of opposition, which is true. And he said, but again, we know the level of difficulty at Manchester City will be another level. So, of course, it's a much tougher game, isn't it, against a much better team, let's be honest. He was then asked to make a comment on City's start to the season. What Mikel Arteta says that they're producing incredible numbers in everything they are doing. In my opinion, they have been really unlucky with some of the results. Because they should have put games to bed early on in those games, and then the level of efficiency of the opponents when they've had half chances have punished them a lot. But he said, I haven't seen any decrease in the level or the way they're playing and what they are producing game by game. So although they haven't started the season well, Arteta has been studying them and still thinks that they're still at the level they've been at previously. They've just maybe a little bit been unfortunate in a couple of the games as well, which I wouldn't necessarily say I agree with, but I can understand his point, I suppose. He was then asked about knowing, obviously, Pep's tactically better than anybody else. And Mikel Arteta said, yeah, of course, he knows him very well because he worked together for 4 years very closely. He says, we both know how we think and the solutions that can be made. but after it's to try to prevent them or execute the football on the pitch when everything's going 100 miles an hour is very difficult. And it's more difficult than just on a tactics ball. So yeah, I mean, he's just talking about the difference in knowing how they're going to play and actually being able to, on the pitch, be able to counter it and do something to win the game. He was then asked about the project big picture, of course, the new structure of the league, which was proposed but obviously turned down. Arteta said he thinks it was a very clear statement from the Premier League about what is going to happen. And he said we have to review the actual content and see how we can help each other to make football more sustainable. But I think it has to be agreed by everyone. And yesterday's statement was very clear regarding that. So yeah, clearly it was voted against, wasn't it, by the clubs or most of the clubs. So it is something that needs to be looked at in a little bit more detail, doesn't it? And then he was then asked whether a project big picture could have damaged our relationship with some of the other clubs in the league. Obviously, because Arsenal were one of the big six clubs that were sort of proposing it. He said he doesn't think so. He says a very special way the Premier League has conducted itself over the years. I think it's a massive strength. So we must, as we can, try to maintain a unity and sustain our way of doing things. He thinks it's very valuable, and the image that we protect the outside world is really, really strong, and he hopes that we can maintain that. I don't think we can really argue with that. He was then asked about the one club, one vote principle, and he says he doesn't know how important that is. If you ask all the clubs individually, they probably have different opinions. We have to find a way that works for everyone so we can make the game sustainable and allow us to still evolve in the context we're in at the moment, which is important as well. It's completely different to what it was like 20 years ago. So we have to move, we have to share a vision in order to achieve that, because at the end of the day, it's for the benefit of every club. So yeah, he basically knows, Mikel Arteta obviously knows that things need to change, and it's a matter of finding the right solutions, isn't it, to make it benefit everybody. He was then asked on whether we need some kind of reform. He said, I think we have to protect the lower leagues as well, which is our obligation. And we want to produce grassroots and opportunities for everyone in this industry. I think it's fair to assess the situation and to find the best way to achieve this, which is our responsibility as well. So, obviously Arteta is quite aware, isn't he, of the situation in football, and that the big clubs at the top end of the leagues do need to help out the lower leagues as well. I'm sure that something will happen. There will be some changes coming up soon. We'll have to see what they are exactly. Moving away from that, then he was then asked about Kieran Tierney, obviously with the isolation and all this kind of stuff. I'd say it's getting very complicated when we are sending players abroad, and obviously you lose control. Some authorities have different regulations to the actual ones in the Premier League. But he did say that we're still having discussions with the authorities, and hopefully we'll know more later on today. He was asked whether Kieran Tierney had tested positive in the summer. And Mikel Arteta said he cannot discuss individual medical things here, which is fair enough. And on whether Kieran Tierney could play at this weekend, Mikel Arteta did say that he hopes so. So let's keep our fingers crossed then. Obviously, that's not completely done yet by the sound of it. There's still some things to sort out, but there's a possibility that Kieran Tierney could play on Saturday, which would be great news, wouldn't it? I think he's a big, important player for us in that game. He was then asked about whether Mesut Ozil will be in our Premier League squad, which isn't going to be confirmed until next week, because obviously he was left out of the Europa League squad. Mikel Arteta says he wasn't the only one who was not in the Europa League squad. He said it's a really difficult decision for me to make, because to leave players out of the squad at that level when they know they cannot get involved is really tough. He says he doesn't like having to do it. He says the decision had to be made because we have an excess of foreign players. Unfortunately, we had to make that decision. Obviously, some of the foreign players had to be left out, didn't they? And Mesut Ozil was one of them. Again, he's almost sidestepping the issue a little bit, isn't he? But I think we get his idea there. On Arsene Wenger saying that Mesut Ozil should be more involved, of course, in his some of his press stuff he's been doing recently. Wenger, of course, on his release of his book, he did mention that. I think it was on the BBC. That was when that was mentioned. Mikel Arteta said, I think you have to try and find a way to feed every player with their own qualities, and this is our job. And obviously our responsibilities with all the players we have to manage. So again, he's diverting that away. He's been quite clear on the Mesut Ozil thing, hasn't he, that he's not going to really talk too much about it. I still believe that it's possibly been taken out of his hands to a certain degree. But anyway, obviously gets brought up all the time, and it constantly will do, I guess, especially today as it's Mesut Ozil's birthday as well. So happy birthday, Mesut, if you're watching. On if the international break causes frustration for managers because of injuries, and obviously at this moment in time, of course, because of the isolation and all that kind of stuff as well. Mikel Arteta says yes, but at the end of the day, we know we have a responsibility to our players as well. We have to give the opportunity to our players to play international football, and international football needs our players. It will not work without them. I think we can make changes a little bit better for the future, and hopefully this international break helps in order to minimise some of the errors that probably have been made. The reality though is that there are always some risks. They are here to clarify certain rules, certain protocols, try to unify them to give ourselves the best possible chance to protect our players and protect the club. So yeah, I think there has been a few mistakes maybe made over this international break, with some of the players that's tested positive, some of the issues that's causing as a result, and it is something that definitely needs to be looked at. So he's right, isn't he? He was next asked on if there was any ever doubt about signing Thomas Partey, because of course it went down to the wire, didn't it? He said yes, at the last minute it's always a risk. A lot of things have to happen at the same time, and obviously there's a lot of paperwork to do. It was a challenge to do it in 24 hours, but I'm really happy because we managed it. So yeah, he was maybe getting a little bit stressed at the end, like we all were. But obviously, we're happy that it's happened, and so is he. On if Atletico Madrid were annoyed at how the signing played out, Mikel Arteta said, I don't know. Obviously, when you have a release clause in your contract, you assume that situation could arise at any moment. When the market is open, it's completely legal to do so. He said we had some communication with them prior to that as well, so hopefully they can respect that action. So it does seem as though there may be a few issues maybe behind the scenes with all of that, but it doesn't matter now, does it? Because we've got our man, and that's the most important thing. It was then asked about the possibility of seeing Kevin De Bruyne against Thomas Partey on Saturday. Again, he said, let's see. He said he needs to do a training session today first. We'll see how he goes in the next 48 hours, and then we'll make a decision as to whether he plays or not. I still believe he will, but fingers crossed. Let's hope and pray on that one. He was then asked about Pep Guardiola not signing his new contract at Manchester City yet, and whether he reads too much into what's happening with that. Arteta said he doesn't know. He said it's up to him. I think the last time I heard an interview with him, he was still really happy. He was talking about the future. Some of the signings they've done recently as well, they are really young players. I don't know. And then at the end, he said something which I thought was really nice. He said, I just want to see him happy. I mean, that's great, isn't it? You know, they're still clearly good friends. They've known each other for a very long time. They worked together, obviously, Man City for a long time as well. So it's nice that Arteta feels like that, isn't it? He wants to see his friend happy. I personally believe that Pep is going to be leaving Man City soon, maybe at the end of this season when his contract's up. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. He was then asked about obviously playing Manchester City again. We seem to have played them quite a lot, don't we, since the lockdown. Arteta said it's Manchester City and Liverpool, I think, that we seem to be playing a lot of at the moment. It's getting really tough. The fixtures that we have coming up in the next few weeks as well will be really difficult. We know the opponent we are facing. We all know the level that we have to be at individually and collectively to beat them. He said we haven't had much time to prepare for this game, obviously because of the players have been away. He said it's our first training session all together today. So we'll try to go to Manchester and win the game. Then he was then asked whether or not he thought the two sides were quite close in the league. In terms of, we maybe had a good start, they've maybe had a bad start, so it's evened itself out. Mikel Arteta said, well, our ambition is to go there and try to beat them again. We know the challenge, we know how hard it is. Every detail, every individual performance has to be top, and we have to control a lot of aspects of the game. They might try to be very different to the ones we have to control against Sheffield United, but we have to be able to adapt as a team when we face this type of opposition. So again, he's looking at the difference in, obviously, when you're playing teams like Sheffield United as to when you're playing teams like Manchester City, and how much more important these little details are going to be in this sort of game. He was then asked whether or not he thinks international football needs to be halted temporarily. He basically said no. He thinks international football has to continue because there's some competitions that have to happen. The ones that were already delayed from last summer have to take place. And those organisations have to be sustainable. We all understand that. What he said was, we are asking to try and unify those protocols and rules to try to create a safe environment for our players, but as well to protect the clubs, because obviously the impact of having a few players out when we resume in the Premier League is really difficult. So, yeah, basically, it's a matter of making sure that when players are away on international duty, that they can come back safe and ready to play in the Premier League and not have to isolate for 14 days or whatever and miss 2 or 3 games, which that could lead to, which is not ideal, is it? Especially for maybe some of the smaller clubs with 1 or 2 of their best players are international duty. That could really make a massive difference to them. He was then asked about Eddie Nketiah, of course, his great goal scoring record that he's just beaten for the under-21s, and whether he's close to being a regular starter. Mikel Arteta said yes, he's very close because he's already challenging everybody every week, whether he's starting or not. He says he always has no doubts with him because of the way he trains and performs. His goal scoring record is getting better and better every week. He's evolving in the right way, and that is what we need. Players challenging and knocking on the door to become starters for us. Well, yeah, exactly. So we know that Eddie Nketiah is not far away, is he? He's made a big impact already this season with 2 goals. And of course, that great record for England as well. So he's certainly in a great position to really challenge now, isn't he? To get more of a regular place in the team. I'm not sure if he'll start on Saturday, but we'll see. Arteta was then asked about the games being pay-per-view and his opinion on the fact, obviously, the fans, we're not happy about it, are we? Arteta said, yes, he completely understands how the fans feel. And they said that they're having more discussions with the Premier League and the broadcasters in order to achieve a good solution for all parties. So he said, it's an unprecedented situation, and he said he thinks they're learning from it, trying to adapt to it and make the right decisions. He said, yeah, but football is based on our fans and the viewers, and that we have to have respect for them. And we've seen as much as possible on board with us because we really need them. We can see how difficult this sport is without them. So clearly, this isn't finished yet, is it? I think the clubs are in discussions with the broadcasters to try to see if they can come to some other arrangement really to sort this out, because we know what it's like. This pay-per-view has caused a lot of problems. It's not what should be happening, is it? Let's be honest. But we'll have to see what happens with that. Of course, it affects one of our games, doesn't it? And it's home game against Leicester, of course. Next week isn't it? So yeah, we're going to be right involved in that, aren't we? So it is a big issue for us. He was then asked about whether or not he expects any players to leave on loan at the moment. Obviously, the loan window is still open in England, and he said not at the moment. So he was then asked whether William Saliba will be staying at Arsenal, and he said yes. So it's difficult to know what to make about that, isn't it? I think at the moment it's clear that in Arteta's mind that William Saliba isn't ready to play. If he doesn't go on loan, then what does that mean? He's going to be in the under-23s. Is that going to be what he needs to learn and progress? I don't know. It's a difficult one, that. But it looks like William Saliba will be staying at Arsenal anyway, so we'll have to see what happens with that. On his reaction to Arsene Wenger saying he'd like to come back and cheer on the team when he's allowed back in, Mikel Arteta said he'd like to see him back around. He said he was a massive figure for me, and he's someone that I can still learn a lot of things from, and would like to have him closer to us. Obviously, the actual environment doesn't allow us to do that, but I think that's a figure that has to be very present in what we do at the football club, because he is, in my opinion, the one who has had the vision and helped his club to evolve and be what it is today. So clearly, from the sound of that, Arteta would be really happy to have Arsene Wenger back in the club in some sort of capacity to help the club move forward. And that's great to hear, isn't it? Because a lot of people still criticising Arsene Wenger for one reason or another. But when the people that are involved at the club, Mikel Arteta in particular, he definitely backs Arsene Wenger, and he would welcome him back to help the club move forward. And I think that's a great thing to hear, and I think it would be a great solution as well. I think Arsene Wenger needs to be back at Arsenal in some sort of advisory capacity, helping Mikel Arteta if he can, but helping the club as well. And I know he said he wanted to keep away a little bit and let the club evolve, but he's got a lot to offer, certainly with his ideas and his experience as well. And I do think that's important. It's good to hear Mikel Arteta really get behind that as well. He was asking whether he got a better contract when he became manager rather than head coach. I don't quite know why he was asked that question again, but some of these questions are very strange. But anyway, he said no. He said it's the way we're moving our structure right now, because we believe it's going to be more efficient. He said we've made a lot of changes and we're still adapting. He said things will evolve in the future even more regarding the needs that we have, but with a very clear idea of how we wanted to run the club. And the right people that we need in every department to achieve what we're trying to do. So it's more about the structure that's changed as opposed to anything else. I mean, it's a ridiculous question to ask him about his contract So I'm glad that he didn't really divulge too much onto that. He was then asked on whether he's got any plans to sign a contract extension, again, trying to push the point through. Mikel Arteta said he doesn't know. He said, we've just finished the transfer window at the moment, but I can say that I'm really happy at the club and that I feel valued, I feel respected and very supported at the moment. My concerns are all the work we have to do here with the improvements we need around the team and trying to sustain the level of performance and get better. So he was basically saying that at the moment he's not thinking about extending his contract, he's just thinking about what needs to be done now to move the club forward, to get the improvements in place and to take the club to the next level. So, which is good, isn't it? I mean, hopefully it will lead to him signing a new contract at some point later on in the future. But let's face it, he's not even been in the job a year yet, has he? So I don't think we need to be worrying too much about that. Again, the point was pushed again on whether he'd want a new contract. This is ridiculous, really. But anyway, this was the last question. And what he said was, he said, yes, but I have to earn it. Now in football, you have to earn it every week and things can change really quickly. So we have to be on our toes. He said, obviously, it's my responsibility to plan medium and long term as well. But that's with or without me. At the end, the time that I'm going to be at this football club will be related to how much I can move the club forward, improve the team and be a success on the pitch and get the values and the vision that I want to implement into the club as well off the pitch. So again, he was sideswiping it a little bit, wasn't he? Sort of saying that, he wants to stay, obviously, but it's not really down to him, is it? It's more down to as the club progresses. Obviously, if he's successful, they're going to keep him. And if he wants to stay, then that's going to be great. And if he's not successful, then he won't. So that was that then. I say quite an in-depth press conference, actually. Obviously, a lot to get through. Some of the questions, as I say, seemed a little bit ridiculous. But anyway, I've had a question I've just noticed here from the blind glue, Daniel. How you doing, mate? Thanks for watching. Do I think Thomas Partey will start on Saturday? I do, actually. I do think he will. I know he's only just arrived, but he's been playing regularly. He's going to be fit and sharp. It's just, can he fit in with the system and what Arteta wants to do? I think he will. We worked hard to get him in. Arteta's wanted him for ages. It's a big game. It's the sort of game that's ideal for him. So, yeah, I do think he will start. I'm certainly hoping that he does because it'd be great to see exactly how he's going to fit in and how he's going to improve our midfield. We know that's been the area that's been the problem, hasn't it, at the club for a while now. We've got this solution in. So, yeah, I believe he will start. And let's hope he can have a similar impact to Gabriel, of course, when he first started as well, his first game, and since as well. So that would be great, wouldn't it? So, yeah, I do think he will start. And it's good to hear Arteta is so committed to what he's doing as well, isn't he? I mean, he's always great in the press conferences. He talks, he never seems to try to hide much. I mean, yes, he does try to avoid the Mesut Ozil situation as much as he can, which you can understand why. It's been dragging on and dragging on. It's clear that Mesut Ozil isn't going to be involved in the squad or the team this season, and he's going to see out his contract and leave at the end of the season. And I just think we just need to accept that. I say some of the questions that he gets are sometimes you shake your head at, but it is what it is. And the good thing is he takes the time to answer them as best as he can and give as much information as he wants to give, which is great. So that was that. That's Mikel Arteta's press conference ahead of Saturday. I mean, it's a big, massive game for us, isn't it? It's going to be a real good test to see exactly where we are, I think, as well. Are we the progress that we have made? These are the sort of games where we've got to show it. We didn't get a result at Liverpool in the league, which was our most recent opportunity to have done so. When you think our next away games at Manchester United as well, we need to win one of these at some point, don't we? One of these top 6 games away from home. We have to win one. I mean, if you remember last season as well, Arteta had a game at Chelsea where we drew. That was a good performance. We then lost against Tottenham, didn't we? And this season we've lost at Liverpool. So we do need to win one of these sooner or later, don't we? If anything else, just to stop people talking about it. It's a good opportunity for us on Saturday. Let's hope Thomas Partey can come in. Let's hope he can start the game. And let's hope that he can help us to get the result we need. Because if you remember last time we went away at Manchester City, it was another midfield player who produced a great performance in Santi Cazorla. Let's hope Thomas Partey can produce something similar to that and help us win. That'd be great, wouldn't it? So that's that video now. So if you enjoyed that, please give it a thumbs up as well. It would be great. If you like what I'm doing on the channel, please subscribe as well. I've got a lot of great stuff coming up. I've got a live Positive Arsenal podcast tonight with some great guests. We'll be talking about little bits and pieces that were mentioned in this press conference. Obviously ahead of the Man City game, some of the other stuff with the project, big picture, and all the other stuff as well, the international break and the fallout from that we've had to deal with as well, certainly in terms of Kieran Tierney and some other stuff as well. So that'd be a good show. That's 7 o'clock tonight on this channel going live. Got some great guests as well, so please stay tuned for that. And then of course on Saturday I'll be doing some coverage of the game. The team news, half-time and full-time. Sunday I'll be doing a full review of the game. And then of course don't forget Monday night I've got a former Arsenal player on the show, having a chat to him about his career, about his time at Arsenal, about his career after that, and obviously what he thinks of the current stuff at Arsenal as well. And hopefully as well we can have a good chat about a good performance from the Manchester City game as well. And that's coming up on Monday at 8 o'clock as well. So loads of stuff going on. So please subscribe so you don't miss any of it at all. As I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the support of the channel. Thanks for your comment in the comments box down here as well. I no doubt I'll speak to you soon anyway. So stay tuned to the channel. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. And in the meantime, of course, as always, come on, you Gunners! Come on.